All right, hello again everybody, welcome. You don't know this, but this is actually the second time I'm recording this video, and that's because I got these new microphones. You can see it on my jacket here. These are the DJI mics, and I screwed up the audio big time. Everything was blown out. I got home and I was listening to it and I was just crying a little more as the seconds passed. Today, we're gonna be checking out the Loaded Fathom board. I know I said, I don't even know, almost like last summer in July, I said I was going to be reviewing this board, and it clearly has been a long time since July. That's okay, because I'm actually glad that it's been a while. I have been riding this board a lot over the past months, and if I were to have done the review back when I said I was going to do it, I would have left out a lot of things that I have now learned and figured out about this board. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it and see if this is a board that you should pick up or if it's one that actually maybe you shouldn't. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, the first thing I want to do is let's actually talk about some of the specs of this board, because it's a really interesting board and it's a new kind of thing that the Loaded Longboards brand is doing in their boards. So the Fathom is the very first longboard that Loaded has created that doesn't have any tails on the actual deck itself. Instead of tails, we have these unique things here that function as tails, and these are these giant things made of fiberglass mixed with plastic. They serve as the tails. Your longboard truck's attached to them, which allows you to ride. Now, like, what is the purpose of this? Why would we want this rather than just having tails? You can have massive wheels on a board, such as these. These are 100mm orangutans, and still be able to have a pretty low drop from the ground. If we didn't have these L-shaped tails, it would be like way up here, you know? When you have larger wheels, there's two kind of big benefits to that, and the first one is that a larger wheel size is going to equal a faster overall top speed. The second reason is going over literally anything on the ground is gonna feel a lot smoother and less bumpy. Those two things alone make this an intriguing board. With that being said, does it actually accomplish that, right? Does this board actually accomplish the things that it's trying to do? That's what we're gonna talk about in the video. So I tend to do this, I kind of got a little carried away just talking about some of those big features. Overall, the board, besides just the deck and these new things, it has these massive wheels like I mentioned. These things are monsters. It's got bearings, as any board would have. They're pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Pretty cool grip tape on the top, and you'll notice that the back of the grip tape has a flat line here, and the front has a little bump that goes up to kind of make like an arrow. We also have Paris trucks. These are not 180mm longboard trucks. They're a little smaller, but they kind of fit the width of the board, as you can see. And that kind of is the overall construction of this deck. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, the graphic is pretty cool on the bottom, and yeah, it's a really solid and well-built machine right here. Okay, so I want to talk about some of the benefits of the board before we get into the downsides, because there are quite a few of them. Kind of like what I've been mentioning about the wheels being such a large circumference and diameter, it makes them really good for going over pretty much any kind of surfaces. So whether that's like brick roads, really bumpy concrete, smooth concrete, or stuff with really large cracks or whatnot, it's going to be able to go over pretty much anything that you want to throw at it, compared to a normal board which maybe would have half the size of wheels. This is going to be a lot better for that. The other benefit to having these new kind of L-shaped trucks, which is really cool, is that because it sits so much lower to the ground, you don't feel super off balanced or off steady when you're riding it. You feel pretty in control of the board, even though it has such a massive wheel circumference to it, which is really helpful because a lot of times when you're up really high, you're gonna feel a lot more unstable. The other thing that comes with this board that is really cool is because of the big wheels, again, it allows for a faster speed, which means that you should be able to go quite fast on the board. It's going to have a higher top speed, and you're really going to feel this when you're going on hills especially. So I've taken this down quite a few hills in the months that I've used this, and I think I've clocked speeds almost of 30 miles an hour at my fastest. So those are kind of like the super awesome benefits to a board like this. But that being said, there are some negatives, and honestly, for me personally, there's probably more than for the rest of you, but we gotta talk about them because they're pretty important. So the first negative that really sticks out to me is actually the wheels. I do not like these wheels personally, and the main reason is because I have a lot of issues with these things slipping out. Not even slipping out at fast speeds, slipping out at like relatively medium above average speeds. And when I say slipping out, I mean, I'm riding the board, right? We're going like this, and if I'm trying to turn a little bit sharp at any speed that's slightly above average, the back wheels start kind of slipping out, and it can be scary. especially for somebody that's not like trained in longboarding as well as I am, that could result in falls. And falls are not good, right? We don't like falls. So for that reason alone, I'm not a fan of these wheels. Another downside that I don't really like is the weight of the board. This is a pretty hefty board, quite a bit heavier than your typical longboard, like quite a bit. For me, it's not that big of a deal because I'm pretty used to carrying heavy stuff around. For somebody that's maybe not, this is probably gonna be pretty tiring, especially if you like to longboard around and then pick your board up after a while, set it back down. It's gonna be tiring to carry around. Additionally, with that and the weight of the board, it also kind of feels heavy when you're just pushing it. So if I'm on the ground trying to go fast and I feel like the board is kind of lagging behind because it's so heavy to push and get going, does it really matter if the wheels have a higher top speed? I'm just throwing it out there. I feel like I can go faster on some of my other loaded boards that are a lot lighter just because they're easier to push. And their wheels are like half the size of this. Another like minor thing that maybe is more of a me thing, the board doesn't have tails, as you can see. Loaded has this file on their website that you can download and 3D print little tails to put on here, which allow you to pop the board up, which sucks that you can't do it off the gate. But I don't understand why they don't just put these in the box when you get the board. I mean, you're spending like what, almost $400 on this thing? Maybe even more than 400 depending on the wheels. And it doesn't come with those. It seems a little, I don't know, just not my thing personally. But yeah, it's really kind of a bummer for me because I love being able to take my board, throw it on the ground, and then when I hop off, pop it right up, you know? But with this one, you can kind of do it, but it's a pain. It's a pain, I don't like it. I don't recommend. Oh, one thing I just remembered, look, this is, get used to it. These are how the videos go. We're kind of random. I just remembered a good thing about the board. The deck here has these curved little edges on all four corners. So it allows you, when you're riding, you can kind of put the board down and your feet will be able to feel where these corners are, right? So that helps so that you know where your feet are on the board, because if they go past the corners, you're going to be hitting the wheels. Okay, so for all the reasons that I kind of mentioned on why I don't like the board, it's not for me, okay? And I will definitely say if you're getting the board, I would highly consider getting the slightly smaller wheels. These big ones, I don't know. I don't like slipping out, and I feel like the weight that they add is really just kind of slowing the board down. I think you're better off getting the cheaper ones that are a little smaller. I will say though that some people I think would really benefit from this board would be people that live in areas with really bumpy grounds that need a board with larger wheels to be able to ride smoothly around. Not to mention it makes the riding a lot quieter, which can be a good thing. It could be a bad thing if you don't want to scare people. That may be one benefit to these, but even the slightly smaller ones, I think it's going to help dampen the vibrations, as well as these L brackets. I think they also help with some of the dampening. So in addition to that, one negative for me could be a positive for you, and that is how it's a little bit harder to push and get going because of the weight. Maybe that's what you actually want. Maybe you're buying this board to exercise. A lot of people longboard for cross training. This could be a great exercise board for you that you don't have to worry about getting slowed down by debris on the ground. Like imagine if you're longboarding 15 miles and on the 11th mile you hit something on the ground, you fall and get injured, right? Then you gotta longboard back with an injury. Something like this may be able to tank that a little bit better, so it may be more suited for those longer things where you don't want to risk getting injured so often. So all in all, it comes down to what you would be wanting to use the board for. It is made with very high quality things and it will last a long time, but you got to make the decision overall if the positives outweigh the negatives for your specific use case. So with all of that being said, this has been my kind of review, kind of just video on the Loaded Fathom. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, subscribe to the channel. We will be making more skateboard content that's hopefully going to be way better because I got a great mic setup now, and I'm back. I promise I'm back. You can hold me to that, and please do. But yeah, that's all I got for now. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.